Cruise ships dismantled for scrap metal as pandemic sinks industry. I found about 20 cruise ships anchored in the Bahamas. https://www. Marine traffic. com/n/a/home/centerx-78. 2/Centauri 25. 8/Zoom 11. Cruise lines in the Caribbean have private islands to take their passengers, and they're currently keeping their ships there. Good, maybe when the industry picks up again, they can design engines that aren't some of the worst pollution machines on the water. I have a friend who worked on cruise ships for a few years. The stories he tells me of rampant disregard for the environment, pollution, worker rights, etc. That's not to say there wasn't some good in the industry. It was good money for workers from countries without good wages. And some tourists do enjoy themselves. But definitely an industry that dodges laws because of its mobility. The pandemic has just accelerated the scraping of ships coming to an end of their service life, like British Airways are doing with their 747s. They are floating virus factories anyway. Where will I get seasick and contract a disease now? Sinks industry. What a shallow pun. Excellent. Cruise ships are a waste of resources and provide virtually no economic value. Bill Burr is gonna be pissed. https://b/bbww68hwa. Adios rubbish. The cruise ship industry will get no sympathy from me. They have all their boats registered and flagged out of Caribbean islands to avoid paying US taxes. If they need a bailout, go talk to Antigua or Bahamas. Sincerely doubt this is true. This is a very small segment of seaworthy ships. Certainly these ships were already destined for decommission, and the pandemic simply accelerated that process. Every major current cruise ship is still doing just fine. These ships cost literally hundreds of millions of dollars at minimum, and some well over $1 billion to produce. Anyone who believes that these ships are actually at risk to be dismantled for scrap less than 1 year into a solvable pandemic isn't using their head. Princess Cruise decommissioned a couple of old ships, but they have new ones starting up. This would never happen, but I wish these companies would keep the usable boats in dry docks or anchored and use them as hotels, homeless shelters, restaurants, emergency shelter, etc. These companies should have saved some money for a rainy day instead of spending it all on avocado toast. Weird thought, a decommissioned cruise ship would be pretty dope place to set up a community during a zombie apocalypse. Good. Cruise ships are an unspeakable obscenity of excess shitting directly into the ocean. While cruises can be fun, I've been on one, it's also an industry that is extremely abusive to its employees. Most of the cruise lines are technically, and conveniently, based in countries with very little worker rights protection. They work extremely long hours in addition to being away from home for many months without end, have basically zero job security, and are paid next to nothing. Good pay for the country they come from, but horrible pay by the standards of the rich yuppies they serve every day. Isn't the world a better place without cruise ships? Cruise ships are disgusting industrial human feedlots after all. I wish the whole industry would sink. It's an ecological disaster. It'd be cool if they made them into floating apartments. Good. Effing riddance. A mega polluter. I never got why people went on them before. It's a floating mall. Those ships put out more pollution than you'd think. I'm glad they're getting chopped up. All cruise ships should be dismantled. Sad about the job losses, probably going to happen due to climate anyway. I wonder how much that factored into the decision. This is a huge win. One ship, one day, emits the carbon footprint you do in your entire life. Good. Fuck cruise ships. 'Bout time this industry dies for good. I actually approve of this. Bulletin dumb tis. It looks like they are just speeding up the process of decommissioning old ships. Plus, they are providing lots of jobs for the scrapyard workers. Oh no. Anyway, all that money that went to them on that last stimulus package. Fuck them. Maybe they can be used for housing? Sorry if that's an idiotic comment, but Why didn't they just turn them into docked housing for the poor? Oh yeah. Dollar dollar dollar. Not really sad to be honest. Quick Google search says 30 cruise ships were launched in 2020, and this is like 5 ships. This might be a bit sensationalist. There are more than there ever been. Dude, cruise lines are the worst business. Good riddance. Corrupt, employee abusing, polluting, tax evading companies. Good, too bad they replace them even more idiotic machines. Now if we could just ban the behemoths from areas where they are unsightly, they damage ports, their passengers flood historical sites and bring no actual money. Not to mention in the year of pandemic, and well before this year with gastrointestinal issues and the occasional Legionnaires outbreak, they carry disease from site to site while providing a wonderful close proximity enclosed human incubation vessel between ports. Venice would be my first city to exclude these things from, they used to be excluded. I believe they have once again, but it took one of these idiot machines causing significant damage, when frankly, anyone could see that these ships docking in harbors not meant for them is absolutely idiotic. I mean, you just need to look at these things docked in historical ports to realize it is insane. Then, any protected area with historical significance. There should be a tonnage limit for these ships at most protected historical sites, not an outright ban, as it remains a method of travel with history and reason, and historical sites should be shared. But a reasonable tonnage limit, certainly one that does not allow for ships that literally tower over the cities they visit, dwarf the historical sites they dock next to, risk damage to these sites, and result in unsafe local waterways for any other vessel. Some areas should actually be spared entirely, fragile ports with the local aquatic ecosystems. Some ports see nothing more than private vessels and small local fishing boats until these things show up, and any waterway so narrow that these monsters occupy 90% of the waterway and are a danger to every other vessel nearby, even smaller locally operated tourist boats. Look up Venice, cruise ship, accident. These boats show up in ports and have all the courtesy of a raging bull with a chip on its shoulder. While on the topic, their damn horns are ridiculously loud, and though it seems to be celebrated by the clients who appear to revel in the look at me moments of the here we go horn, yes, I am fully aware of what the necessary large ship maneuvering horn blasts are. I can assure you that whether on vacation and sailing myself or at home and dealing with their presence, there is no conceivable reason why their horns need to blow so hard in a small port that it can be heard across an entire city. And if there is a necessity, and it is based on their size/maneuvering, then back to point 1, we need to limit the tonnage of these floating dumps so they do not produce sound pollution, people pollution, and visual pollution in historical areas and sites where people live and work. 150 tons and over, you should be limited to commercial ports in any city/area where there is no port created for vessels this size. That might get them to size down a bit. Some areas have even ensured their commercial ports can be used by these things. Ever see the commercial port in Venice, cruise ship after cruise ship after cruise ship? So why must some of them pull right up to historical sites and dock in the pleasure craft ports of our cities and tourist areas while behaving like absolute uneducated bullies? If any of you go on to read the stories of Venice and cruise ships, let their experience be a warning to you and your cities, historical sites. Those millennials and not spending thousands to go sailing on our plague ships. Cruise ships are such a waste. Good, cruise ships are fucking terrible for the environment.